enough pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. שבט אחים ואחיות שרק רוצים לחיות, להיות להבות, התקוות בעיניים פתוחות, בידיים אוהבות ומקבלות, ובידיעה שכולנו משפחה, באמונה שתוכנו יש מקום גדול לאהבה. כשהמים זורמים הם אותנו מובילים, מרומים מצבעים, כי מה שלי הוא מה שלך זוהי דרך חדשה, כשהשמש עולה על כולנו מהירה. אז עוד שנייה, הנה זה בא, כמו הנשמה, נשמה, נשימה. הנה, הנה, אני מבקש, כך ניתן מצב רוח לעלות ונתייאש. כשהשן עליי דוהר, בוער, אני לא מהר, לא סופר על העבר, מוותר, מרגיש את הרגע, פוגע במציאות, נוגע, שופע לא גורע ותמיד יודע שאם לא נפחד, הראש יתחדד, לא ניפרד, נתאחד, כי מה שלי ומה שלך זוהי דרך חדשה, כשהשמש עולה על כולנו מהירה. אז עם הפחד בצד, שבט אחים ואחיות מאוחד. הנה, הנה, pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How What are now plans and it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good are now plans and it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. Shabbat Shalom, friends. I hope everyone had a meaningful week. I am still getting used to the fact that we get dark at 4:30. As I said last week, Jonah was like, who turned the lights out? And now it's getting chillier outside. There's a what? There is a supermoon. Ladies and gentlemen who are on live stream, we have moonologist Michael Goodman who knows about supermoons. And let me tell you, if there's one thing to describe this moon, it's super. So everybody will there is a blessing for the moon. We should learn it sometime. Okay. I apologize, my ADD is now kicking in. But it is wonderful for us to be together on this day. It's wonderful to have Brandon back joining us on the keys. We're going to be excited to welcome Ron back next week after his amazing sabbatical. And I promised Brandon that this is not the last time we'll see him. So we'll see more of him as well. And it'll be awesome for us to have a variety of different people help us with our music. With all that being said, we as Jews are told to be the light. And in a world that is feeling dark, we take a moment both literally and figuratively to be that light. So we turn to page 120 and 121 with our candle blessing, and I'd like to invite up P. Smith to help us with those blessings.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. We're going to continue with words of Lechuna Ranana on page 130. And not only is it on 130 because I keep forgetting, we actually have special words that are found within our Shabbat pamphlets. And one of the things that we are reminded of is that Judaism is a religion full of music and instrumentation. And And I've always struggled with this concept where in more traditional circles, the idea of instrumentation has a very different relationship than here in Reformed communities. And the reason why is because literally all of our Psalms are about instruments. And even the Psalm 150 that we have on Saturday morning, it says all these different musical instruments. But regardless of that, there is one instrument that is constant amongst any of us, and that's the instrument of our voices. And we also have our instrument of our voices, and we have our instrument of the piano, and we have the instrument that's found within our souls, and we will use them to engage with those words of Psalm 95. Lechu niranina, yai dai 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 dai, la Adonai, yai dai dai da da dai, naria, yai dai dai da da dai, litzor yisheinu. Yai, dai, dai, da, da, dai. Let us sing out to God, maker of all, sure and strong. Let all of creation from mountain to sea hear our song. Ranina, yai, dai, 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 dai. Adonai, yai, dai, dai, da, dai, naria, yai, dai, dai, da, dai, litzor yisheinu, yai, dai, dai, da, dai. For all of the wonder in all of God's light, we rejoice. So now let us listen with all of our hearts to hear God's voice. Yai, dai, 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 dai. Adonai, yai, dai, dai, da, da, dai. Maria, yai, dai, 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 dai. Litzor yisheinu, yai, dai, dai, da, da, dai. Yai, dai, dai, ya, da, dai, 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 ya, da, dai, 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 da, dai, dai. Page 138 and 139. I want to show you something. So, in our Intro to Judaism class this week, we had a conversation about the meaning of Shabbat and how there are ultimately two reasons why Shabbat exists. One is because we need to keep or guard or protect Shabbat, and one is because we want to remember Shabbat. And we do these things because it connects us to the story of creation. We do these things because it connects us to the story of our freedom out of slavery. And we do this out of a respect of this idea that we are supposed to rest. And I've been doing a lot of thinking about how the lack of work or the abstention from work manifests itself in so many different ways. And one way that it's often overlooked is that when we celebrate Shabbat and when we have Shabbat, we can choose to not drive. We can choose to not use electricity. We can choose to do all of these things that we are supposed to do. And I know that many of us do not, and that's totally fine because we create our Shabbat in our own ways. I create Shabbat in my own ways. If you haven't noticed, I drive on Shabbat. Happens. But we always talk about the physical, all the things that we don't do or that we can do to observe Shabbat. What we don't talk about enough is what's going on in here. I'm the type of person where it is very, very, very hard for me to stop what's going on in here. It's going on all of the time. This is what keeps us up at night, right? Shabbat is our moment where we're not just told, rest, don't do work. Shabbat is our moment to literally press stop. And we can do that through our own self-reflection, our own self-centering, our own ability to focus, and the choice to connect with every single person that we can connect with. And I say this with the utmost respect for Shabbat. Shabbat is the distraction that we need every single week, because it's the thing that redirects us and helps center us and ground us. And when we celebrate Shabbat and we turn to these words of Lecha Dodi, we are reminded that this is the time in which we ultimately see all the aspects of the divine come together as one, and we too are part of that cycle, and we too are part of that connection. And when we do that, maybe, just maybe, the voices in our head can stop for a little bit. So we'll sing together verses 1, 2, 5, and 9 on page 138, 139. After verse 9, not only will we have greeted the Shabbat bride, but we'll also take the time to greet one another. So Lecha Dodi, page 138, 139. La 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 Lecha Dodi, la 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 Ligrat Kala, la 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 Pnei Shabbat, Pnei Shabbat Neka Abela, Shamor v'Zachor B'dibor Echad, Ishmi'anu El Hamyuchad, Adonai Echad, U'Shemo Echad, L'Shemo Tiferet V'Litilah, Yai Lai Lai, Ya La 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 Lai Lecha Dodi, Ya La 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 Lai Ligrat Kala, Ya La 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 Lai Pnei Shabbat, Pnei Shabbat Neka Abela, Ligrat Shabbat Leuven Delcha, Ki Mikor HaBeracha, Merosh Mikedem Nesucha, Sof Mahaseh B'machshava Tehila, Yai Lai Lai, Ya La 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 Lai Lecha Dodi, Ya La 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 Lai Ligrat Kala, Ya La 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 Lai Pnei Shabbat, Pnei Shabbat Neka Abela. Verse 5, Hitoreri, Hitoreri, Kiva Orech, Kumi Ori, Ori Ori, Shir Dibari, Kivod Adonai, Alayik Nigla, Yai Lai Lai, lecha dodi. Yalalalai likrat kala. Yalalalai pnei Shabbat. Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shalom ateret bala. Gam besimcha utzola. Toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, boi chala. Yai lai lai, yala la la lai lecha dodi. Yala la la lai likrat kala. Yala la la lai pnei Shabbat. Pnei Shabbat nekabela. We couldn't have timed that better. By the way, Megan was the smart one this week. You should have kept standing up. We continue with Baruch on page 146. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Barechu et Adonai Amevorach. Baruch Adonai Amevorach Leolam Vahed. Leolam Vahed. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai. Please be seated. Join with me in the English at the bottom of page 147. O God, you are as near as the very air we breathe, yet farther than the farthermost star. Baruch atah Adonai hamariva rabim. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. So, I was having a conversation today about the concept of love. And I know it's something that I've talked about here before. And love, in my opinion, is a verb. Love is what we do. It's not passive. Even the feeling of love is active. And part of that love comes with respect and trust and openness. And it goes both ways. Love is where you're able to look at somebody in the eye and say, great job, but also, shut up. Love is when you're able to look at somebody in the eye and say, I respect you and I care about you and I believe in you. And you really screwed up. But that all can be done out of love. And when we show our love, we express it in so many different ways. Nothing becomes punitive. Nothing becomes an attack. But everything becomes a relationship where it's not just a relationship between you and me, but it's a relationship that we have with each other. And when we look at each other and we treat each other as if we are encountering God each and every time, that trust only grows. It only emerges. It only develops over time. So when we talk about this idea of love as it relates to Torah, we acknowledge God's love through Torah because the Torah is a blueprint for living. It's a guidebook. And when we look at that as a guidebook, only then are we able to recognize the oneness and the universality of the divine. With that in mind, we rise together for the Shema on page 152. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Please be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'chayu hadvarim ha'ele asher nochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ug'shartam le'ot al yadecha v'chayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Join with me responsively at the bottom of page 157. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. We continue with our freedom song, Michamocha, page 158. Ya ba ba bim bim bam, ya ba bim bam, ya ba bim bim bam, ya ba bim bam, ay 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 ay, ya ba bim bam, ay 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 ay, ya ba bim bam. Mi chamocha, bailim Adonai, mi kamocha, nedar bakodesh, nora tehilot, o sefele, nora tehilot, o sefele, mahalechotecha, rahu vanecha, bokei ayam, lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze'eli, ze'eli, anu ve'amru, Adonai imo le'olam va'ed. ונאמר כיבד אדוני את יעקב, וגואלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. So a couple weeks ago during Sukkot, we introduced a new way to sing the Hashkivenu. We looked at the words that are at the very bottom of page 160. Those words that say, Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom, aleinu va'al kol amo Yisrael va'al Yerushalayim. Blessed are you, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people, and over Jerusalem. And one of the reasons why I'm drawn to this final verse, because it's literally the final blessing, it's called the Chatimah, is there is a little bit of a nuance here. Because at the beginning of the prayer it says, grant us, O God, spread over us a shelter of your peace. That's a request. But then we end it with, blessed are you, God, whose shelter of peace. That's an answer. I think that God not only spreads over us this shelter of peace, but the shelter of peace is already here. We're just not looking hard enough. And that shelter of peace is spread over all of us. And we're just not looking hard enough. Sometimes those best gifts are the ones that you're not able to see, but the moment that you do, the world changes. The phenomenon that I like to draw attention to. Have you ever seen the movie Hook? 1992, Robin Williams played Peter Pan. He was an adult. He forgot everything about being a kid. And one of the things that he forgot was the game of eating. And there's this particular scene where all the lost boys are eating, and you can't see anything. And Peter's like, what are you talking about? I can't see anything. There's nothing there. And then you have this kid that's going, but then he starts getting into it, and then he starts focusing, and then he starts realizing that there's something there that he's just choosing not to see. So I think that one of the things that we often choose not to see is that that shelter of peace is already there. It's waiting for us. So we continue with those words at the bottom of page 160. Haparei Sukkot Shalom. Baruch atah, atah Adonai, haporei sukkot shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Ve'al Yerushalayim me'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Baruch atah, atah Adonai, haporei sukkot shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. You know what we haven't sung in a really, really, really long time? Vishamru. I missed it. And I miss Debbie's Vishamru. And especially when we're talking about this idea of Shabbat is what distracts us from all the stuff in our head. This is another reminder of how special this day is. Vishamru, page 162. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat. לעשות את השבת לדורותם. ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. Shabbat, Shabbat ויהי נפש. Shabbat, Shabbat ויהי נפש. As we turn to the Amidah, beginning on page 164, we're going to chant it aloud this week So I want to remind you when we get to the Givorot on page 168, we will be chanting the winter blessings, which is Mashiv Haruach Umarid Hagashem. So we connect to generations past and we continue our conversation with God beginning on page 164. Please rise. Adonai Sifatai Tiftach Ufi Agi Tehilateha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanura, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Hastei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevei Geula Livnei V'Neihem, L'Ma'an Shemo Ba'ahava, Melech Hozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah. Atagi Bor Leolam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Atah, Rav Lehoshia. Mashiv HaRuach Umorid HaGashem. Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim. Somech Noflim Berofei Cholim. ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei HaKol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom yahalalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. We continue silently. Page 178. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki Atahu Melech Adon Lecho HaShalom. Ki Atahu Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. We take a moment to remember all those loved ones who are in need of healing, of body, of mind, of spirit. As a congregation, we think of Chuck Campbell, Bill Ferguson, Sarah Crocker, Nelson Petticourt, Natalie Wallach, Bernard Rubin, Barbara Lapidus, Margaret Ann Goldsmith, Al Jupiter, Judy Kunitz, Jaylee Weber, Ken Rhodes, Joy Suskin, Lynn Weil, Sue Chatham, Sarah Ballin, Michelle Shochet, Charles Simon, Amanda Solomon, Robert Berman, Fred Levin, Doug Castellano, Suzanne Horsley, Charlie Appleby, Wayne Copeland, Eileen Linton, Joan May, Jane Altshuler, Dee Berkowitz, Sharon Schuff, Rebecca Stewart, and Renata Limmer. If there is a name that you would like to add on this Shabbat for our prayer for healing, I invite you to do so as my eyes meet yours.
Isaac David Brown. David Pendras.
Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei et hakol. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings forth healing to all those loved ones who need it most. Page 371. Of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach Nikora habracha le'avoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. We continue with our prayer for Israel, page 377. Avinu Shebashamayim, Tzor Yisrael v'goalo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Smichat Geulatenu, Hagen Alecha be'evrat hastecha ufros alea sukat shlomecha, ושלח אורך ואמיתך לראשך שרך ויוצאך, ותקנם בעצה טובה מלפניך, ונתת שלום בארץ ושמחת עולם ליושביה, ונאמר, Amen. And we read in the English together. O Heavenly One, in this week's Torah portion, Parashat Vayera, we find Abraham sitting at the entrance of his tent during the heat of the day, and he is recovering from his circumcision. And, pardon? Bummer. But even in his discomfort piece, he lifts his eyes and he notices three strangers approaching. We read in Genesis 18:2, he lifted his eyes and saw, and behold, three men were standing opposite him. So he saw, and he ran from the entrance of the tent to greet them and bowed low to the ground. It's at this moment that we realize that Abraham doesn't allow his own pain or vulnerability to hinder his actions. He runs to welcome the guests. He demonstrates eagerness and urgency. He hastens Sarah to prepare bread. He runs to select a tender calf for a meal, and he ensures that every single detail reflects generosity and care. At this point now, I think it's safe to say that I've spoken exhaustively about how we live in a society where differing viewpoints often lead to division rather than dialogue. And over the past week, I've been participating in numerous conversations with my Reformed colleagues about what does it mean to hold a congregation together during times of divisiveness. And we began to feel this tension emerging following October 7th, with a diversity of opinions and ideas about Israel's response to the attack on Hamas. And that tension has only heightened since last week, as some of our congregants are worried about what's to come, and others are very excited. And this dichotomy has led to some of us feeling lonely and isolated, because in such a climate, we realize that something's missing. We realize the practice of audacious hospitality is one that becomes not just important, but essential. See, our synagogue and our congregation can be that haven where divergent viewpoints aren't just tolerated, but celebrated. And by welcoming each person wholeheartedly, we create a space where fears can be allayed and our hopes can be nurtured. See, Abraham's example teaches us that hospitality itself is that tool for bridging divides. His tent was open on all sides, symbolizing the openness to the world. And even as he was recovering from his circumcision, this personal covenant with God, he sought connection over separation. And his actions teach us that hospitality is not conditional on our own comfort or convenience, but it's a sacred duty and a pathway to embodying the divine within us. And by mirroring Abraham's audacity, we can continue to be a synagogue that is transformed into a sanctuary of inclusivity and warmth. So what does this mean? It means opening our hearts and doors wide. Because just as Abraham's tent was open to all sides, we need to ensure that our community is accessible and welcoming to everyone. We can recognize the divine in each person. We can approach each individual with the understanding that they are B'Tselem Elohim, not only created in the image of God, but deserving of honor and respect. We can engage actively and authentically. We can move beyond those surface level interactions, and we can seek to understand each other's stories and joys and struggles. And we can strive to create a culture of belonging, where we foster an environment where diversity is celebrated and everyone feels that they have a place at the table. Now, I mentioned the word audacious hospitality earlier. And this is admittedly a buzzword because it's something that the Reform movement has spoken about over, I want to say, about the past 5 to 7 years. And audacious hospitality is not about being friendly or polite. It's about a transformative spiritual practice that is rooted in Jewish values. And Rabbi Rick Jacobs, the president of the Union of Reform Judaism, articulates this beautifully when he says, audacious hospitality isn't just a temporary act of kindness so people don't feel excluded. It's an ongoing practice where we embrace and honor each individual, opening ourselves to be transformed even as we transform others. Audacious hospitality challenges us to move beyond our own comfort zones, to actively seek out and welcome those who may feel marginalized or disconnected. Because we, as Reformed Jews, have long championed the values of inclusivity and social justice. So this commitment to being audaciously hospitable is a natural extension of this legacy. Rabbi Jacobs emphasizes that we must build communities that reflect the inclusive, embracing love that Judaism teaches, because this is the only way that we will survive, not just survive, but thrive as a Jewish people. So at the heart of audacious hospitality is the belief then that we can be stronger, we can be more vibrant as a Jewish community when we not only welcome, but also embrace the diversity that is the reality and future of modern Jewish life. It has the power to heal divisions and build bridges. It allows us to move beyond fear and uncertainty towards a future filled with hope and connection. And as we embrace this practice, we not only change the lives of those that we welcome, but we enrich our own spiritual journey. So on this Shabbat, may we, like Abraham, find the strength to rise from our own challenges and eagerly welcome others into our midst. Let us all make audacious hospitality not just an ideal, but a practice that transforms us and transforms those around us. Shabbat Shalom. We rise once more for words of Aleinu at the bottom of page 586. 586. Aleinu לשבח לדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עצרנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו כהמונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. Please be seated. At this time, we remember those loved ones who passed away at this time in years past. We remember Ray Schumann Jupiter Friedman, Eleanor G. Winter, Arthur V. Ross, Daniel Albert Preston, First Sergeant Harold A. Weinbaum Jr., Leo Kaplowitz, Louise Wompold Hagedorn, Sadie Schwartz, Scott Leslie Kraszalski, and Alan Merlin. If there is a name that you would like to add on the Shabbat, I invite you once more as my eyes meet yours. Zichronam Levacha, may the memories of each and every person we have named aloud or within our hearts be for an enduring blessing. Supporting those who mourn and in the memory of the martyrs of our people, we rise together for Kaddish on page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha barechu, Le'ala min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'elma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn, and may the source of comforts and comfort to all who are bereaved. And we say together, amen. Please be seated. Couple announcements. So, tomorrow morning, Torah study at 10 a.m. We're going to pick back up with learning some Torah through Musar. We're going to look at the value Zerizut, alacrity or eagerness. So we're going to dive in a little bit more to that eagerness that we spoke about within my Devar Torah. On Sunday, we are going to be participating in the International Day of Jewish Learning in memory of Adin Seinsaltz, who was and continues to be one of the greatest scholars and translators of Talmud of our time. And we will be participating in 2 learning sessions that are being taught around the world. We are very much encouraged to attend both sessions, or you can attend one session. From 2 to 3 p.m., we're going to be talking about the theme of connectedness. We'll take a short break, and then at 3:15, we'll be talking about the theme of mindfulness. And then a week later at 6 p.m., our Interfaith Thanksgiving service will take place at Faith Presbyterian Church off of Whitesburg. It is about 3 minutes from the Walmart Marketplace, 5 minutes from Eitayim. It's true. And it'll be a wonderful opportunity for the local clergy to come together and offer words of thanksgiving. I will then be out of town from November 25th, that's that Monday, through December 1st, which is that Sunday. You can obviously call me and whatnot if you really, really, really need me. If not, don't call me. Yes, Michael.
I just have an announcement. If you live in Madison, I'm a member of the Madison Interfaith Council, and at 10 a.m. at Madison City Hall, there's going to be tomorrow. There's going to be Interfaith Day of Prayer or Moment of Prayer. So I'm going to be representing Pennsylvania Shalom. But anyone else wants to come out, Madison, 10 a.m. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And keep an eye out for some really cool announcements for December. We have a scholar in residence that is coming. We're going to be doing a Hanukkah shindig, so it's going to be fun. With that in mind, We are going to, you have a question? No? Okay. We're going to sanctify the day with words of Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uv'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lama'aseh v'reshit, ki hu yom tehila למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת, מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim. Robbie, Phoebe, sit down. I love you both. Robbie, sit down. Sit down. Take a breath. If you are young, hey, I didn't finish the saying it. If you are young at heart and want to have a piece of challah before Robbie does, come on up for motzi. Oh, it's the challah rules.
I'll still eat around 6.
No, don't take 6. Take 1.
Could I get it?
In your own time of time. Well, don't tell him that. Hamotzi lechem in haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. It takes willpower to only take one challah roll. But next time I'll see you guys, I'll say, challah! This is how I roll. Oh, I promise you, Eli, I will not do that joke for another month.
I'm going to hold you to that.
What?
There ain't no call back.
That's great. That's great. I'm going to be on vacation. If you need anything, give me a holla. Wow. No! We rise together. Ooh. We rise together for our closing song. Oh, say shalom. Oh, say shalom Nimromah. Say shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. Oh, say shalom Nimromah. Say shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Yada-da-dai-dai-dai-dai, yada-da-dai-dai, yada-da-dai-dai-dai, yada-da-dai-dai-dai-dai, yada-da-dai-dai-dai-dai, yada-da-dai-dai-dai, yada-da-dai-dai-dai, yada-da-dai-dai-dai-dai. Oh, say shalom bimromav, oh, yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. שבת שלום.
שבט אחים ואחיות שרק רוצים לחיות, להיות להבות, התקוות בעיניים פתוחות, בידיים אוהבות ומקבלות, ובידיעה שכולנו משפחה, באמונה שתוכנו יש מקום גדול לאהבה. כשהמים זורמים הם אותנו מובילים, מרומים מצבעים, כי אמא שלי ומה שחזוי דרך חדשה, כשהשמש עולה על כולנו מהירה. אז עוד שנייה, הנה זה בא, כמו הנשמה, נשמה, נשימה. הנה